Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new episode of Sattology, Debunking Mythology. And today we have a very special guest, an author of a book, which is Swift Horses, Sharp Swords, and we are going to talk about medieval history, and I think that's the one which is very much in concern around the world, because especially in the case of India, the entire medieval history is shown to be the history of the conquerors, invaders of India, which is a big problem because it is not shown how the natives defended their lands or how hard they worked. If they would not have worked so hard, India would not have the Vedic culture even today. So the credit goes to those unsung warriors, unseen heroes who are even now suppressed by the Indian textbooks. So without delay, let us welcome Shri Amit Agarwal. Namaskar, Amit ji.
Namaskar ji, namaskar.
Yes. So before we start on this book, which you have written, that actually the cover is very attractive, and I like the cover. So how did you get the inspiration to write this book? Beautiful cover.
Yeah, thank you. My daughter has designed it.
Uh, and how old is she?
She's doing engineering final year.
Oh, okay. So this is like a creative daughter you have.
Yeah.
Beautiful cover, beautiful cover. So what was
Thanks.
the inspiration behind this book? What problems you want to solve?
Actually, I am also an engineer from IIT Roorkee, and I had an elective subject called of history. So when I was in attending that classes, so when I read those books, so I felt that they are very loaded with the left liberal narrative, in which, as you said earlier, it glorified the invaders, and there was as it was a total walkover on us. So that's why I wanted to write from a Hindu perspective that we were brave, we have fought well, but due to certain mistakes and due to certain when we lag behind the technology, especially in the military warfare, because of that we lost the battles. So that why I wanted to correct it. So this was with me in my mind for the past 20-25 years, but I could not do it. But in the lockdown, I was rather free. So I thought I had to use it very well. So then I started writing in month of April, and it took around 4 to 5 months to complete the book.
No, actually, lockdown has made so many authors come out. So it's a boost
Yes.
for the Indian literary scene because many people have written many books during lockdown. In fact, my four
Yes.
books came during lockdown.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
it's
Congratulations.
amazing. It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
The
Four books
lockdown
in
has,
lockdown is really wonderful.
actually it is a beneficial for the whole environment. Actually, so
Yeah.
the human beings had polluted it so much. So I said that the divine powers, the devta, did a
Hmm.
at least lockdown so that the environment can come back. And if during the first few years or first few months of the coronavirus, you must have seen
Hmm.
reports how the environments in cities have become much better.
Yeah.
So it's like a holiday by the environment.
Hmm.
So when the humans are quarantined, everything gets benefited.
Yes. Yes.
So you can start the presentation, and we'll still keep talking about it.
Yes. 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 Sure.
So in this book, when you talk about this book,
Hmm.
what are the takeaways? Like what people can take away from this book?
Actually, as I discussed just before, normally history books
Mhm.
are written by the leftist historians like Romila Thapar, Irfan Habib. So they have written it with a very toxic way. So I wanted to tell the story, that history from a different angle, from our perspective. And because of my engineering background, I try to integrate it with the engineering fundamentals, some mathematical fundamentals. I try to incorporate in the interpretation of history, like game theory, network theory, randomness, all these things I try to incorporate. So to become a slightly different history book, and I tried to write in a way like thrillers are written. It should be fast paced. It should be people should finish it in 2 or 3 sittings. So like that. Otherwise, many people had told me earlier, and I also found out that history books are a little bit boring.
Boring.
So it is heavy duty, you can say. So that was my major aim. My target was a layman who wanted to write, who wanted to read about the history, but normally dependent on the Facebook and WhatsApp. So I wanted to give the clear, concise, and true and balanced version,
Yeah.
and from our perspective, from Hindu perspective, from Sanatan perspective.
Yeah. So no, you are absolutely right. See, when you communicate something, you have to communicate as if you're talking to a 5-year-old person. The
Yeah,
biggest problem in the Hindu culture is they make it so esoteric and elitist language that a common man cannot get it. Whereas the history written by the Islamic invaders for Islam, all those histories are written to motivate their army people that how Hindus are weak,
yeah.
and for them they write like this. But the important lessons need to be learned, that we have to tell history is in a very simple language, and like you said, make it interesting. Yeah, please continue your slides. We'll keep talking
Yeah,
on the side between.
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So this is the book cover and this is the blurb. This blurb is also designed by my daughter.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's
So
available on Amazon in US also.
yes, in
Oh,
both paperback and Kindle form.
oh, very good, very good.
So I will start with this very beautiful poem. इतिहास के पन्नों में युद्ध भी है, बुद्ध भी है, राग भी है, द्वेष भी है. History is full of interesting things, and it is terrible also. It is violent also, and it has love also. So that I want to convey. So there's a very famous saying: "Those who cannot remember the past condemn to repeat it."
Yes.
Means we have to learn from the history, what has happened in our past, what are the mistakes we have done, what were our strengths. We have to extract the lessons from that, from those past. So that's why it is very essential to remember the history, to know about the true history, true version of the history, not the distorted version which we are reading in India through the NCRT books, etc.
Sometimes you made a very good point here in this line, because Hindus are generally told, Indians generally told, they have never attacked anyone. Again, this is an
Yeah,
Islamic line to feed to
yeah,
the Hindus that you have never attacked it, you have no experience. But they forget to realize we have defended very well. So anyone
yes.
who can defend very well can attack also very well. So I think something narration needs to be changed. Like I wrote in my one of my books, Narada, the Making of a Statesman.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to always keep the enemy under pressure. When they are weak, you have to destroy them, or when if they are trying to attack you, to preempt an attack and destroy them. It's Narad Muni telling to Yudhishthir. So
So the purpose of the book is to write the history, to tell the history in a different way from our perspective, and examine the reasons behind our meteoric success in ancient era. As everybody knows, in ancient era, we were called the Sone ki Chidiya, and we were producing 25% of GDP of the world at that time, till at least 500 CE. We were rich. We were called the cradle of the civilization, and every country used to look up to us. What Indians are doing. So many people from China, from Japan used to come us. They used to collect the books and translate it, and then take it back to their motherland. So that was our success at that time, and we did it without lifting of the sword, just by giving the sermon of peace by the Buddhists and by the Hindus. We could influence, and even Southeast Asia is called Indosphere. So much of the influence of India was there in Cambodia, in Thailand, in Vietnam, and in Indonesia. So I have tried to examine those reasons behind that success, and why then sudden decline has commenced in the medieval times after the attacks of Arab.
So you said something like Sone ki Chidiya. Now, Sone ki Chidiya was called by the Arabs for Hindus, because
Yeah.
Chidiya you can catch and kill anytime. They did
Okay.
not call Sone ka Sher. Sone ki
Yeah.
Chidiya means catch the bird, kill the bird, capture the gold. So that was again a
Right.
motivation point for their armies. Okay, it's
Yes,
not
yes, yes.
Sone ka Ched, it's Sone ki
Ah,
Chidiya. It's a shame for Hindus. They should never call themselves Sone ki Chidiya.
yes, got it, got it.
Next. I think a lot of debunking we need to do.
Yes, yes, yes. Even I was not aware of such things, such connotations.
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
connotation. Sone ki Chidiya means चिड़िया को आप पकड़ सकते हैं आसानी से,
Uh-huh.
and you can destroy it, you can kill it. So why not they call it Sone ka Bagh, Sone ka Sher, Sone ka Hathi? Because you cannot catch
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
for to motivate their armies, they said because they were all looters, they do not
Mm.
have organized army. So they said Sone ki chidiya hai, you can kill anytime and loot everything. Come back, they are not going to say anything. That's how they used to
Yeah,
motivate their people.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Very
And
correct.
now we think very proudly we are Sone ki chidiya, but it's not
Uh,
that.
yes, yes. So, because of this narrative in the history books, so most of the Hindus, which we know, grew up with the negative thoughts about our religion, about traditions, about the culture. So you can see now, even nowadays, those who are proud to call it secular Hindus, you cannot find the secular Muslims or secular Christians, but you will always find the secular Hindus. Why they grew up with such negative thoughts? Because of the poor versions of history being taught to the students,
Yeah,
being
only
taught to the
Hindus are supposed to be secular, not Muslims and Christians.
yes, yes, yes. Only Hindus are supposed to do
You
that.
have to tolerate
So
all of them, they will not tolerate the Hindus.
yes, 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 yes. All the tolerance are expected from us only.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, please continue. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was not about the reawakening of the old ghosts. It was to know more about our follies and mistakes and our strengths also. What we did well and where we faltered. So and make the people, make the Hindus, make the children, our children, that invaders had no cakewalk. We fought very well. We had the in it that we could repel them, and many times we repelled also, like Nike Devi, Prithviraj Chauhan, Jaipal, Anand Pal. All were some point of their career they could repel Ghaznavi or Gori and other invaders. Okay, and the
Continue.
main thing
Continue.
is that those similar conditions which existed 1,000 years back, a millennium back, are still exist. Still, we are attacked by the Pakistan, we are attacked by the China, and we are still giving the same. We are fighting with the same concepts of Dharma Yuddha. Like when in the Dharma Yuddha, Gori was lying unconscious, injured in the battlefield during the second battle of Tarayan in 1192. But Prithviraj Chauhan left him alone. And their soldiers took him back to the Ghazni and he recuperated, he got well, and then he again attacked. So, those conditions are, still exist. We still fight with the Dharma Yuddha. I was reading a week back in the Times of India, those Pakistani terrorists, when they cross our borders, they cross unarmed because and they were delivered the arms through the AK-47 etc. through the drones because they felt that Indian soldiers don't shoot unarmed people, while they always shoot the armed people. So still, I think those conditions, those concepts of dharma is still in our mind. So that's why I wanted to share this. And the book style, I wanted it to write in very different way, in a story format, to make it interesting, to make it palatable for the
Yes.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Continue.
So I wrote in a very simple English, fast-paced, crisp, and so that everybody gets interested. So many friends and many people which read my book, they told me they finished my book in 2 or 3 sittings. It was such a fast-paced on the mode of the thrillers, spy thrillers. So I think I have done a good job at least in this area. So because of engineering background, I try to integrate history with the engineering theories, as I already told, game theories, network theories, randomness, all these things I try to integrate. Why this happened, why this didn't happen, all the things we will come. We will discuss in the later slides. My first, second, or third chapter, I have deliberated why the conflicts happen, why humans cannot live with the love alone, with the empathy, with the good relationship. So I try to find it out the Maslow theory of pyramids. So where it says there that basic needs are food, housing, clothes, etc. And at the top of there's a self-actualization. So in between there is a contradictory needs of human for the control and the freedom. We want ourselves to be free. We want to do our things ourselves in our own way, but at the same time we want to have a power also, power of on the other people. So there's a contradictory themes, and that is the main reason for the enduring conflicts in the human civilization. So, like humans, animals too fight over the territory, the food and females. So these are the basically territory and food is limited resources. So over the limited resources, there are always fight. So humans also fight over these things. So a smart human may not love the war. They may not like the war, but they know that the war is inevitable. Somewhere sometime in their life, they have to fight. They have to fight the war. They have to fight the battle, and they have to prepare for it, to repel any kind of invasion, any kind of attack. So, but I think in this area, our Indian kings, our Hindu kings and warriors faltered because they could not keep up with the technology. In the military warfare, we could not invent things which were invented by being invented by the Turks in that era, in 900 CE and in 1000 CE. So we have to be always live with it, prepared for the war if we want to live with the dignity. So here the Satya, Shanti and Ahimsa, this concept can only be propagated by the strong people, not by the weak people. These concepts are only for the strong. So this I tried explaining the game theory. In this matrix, you can see in the first quadrant, there's a piece. Two points of both parties. So total is 4. So we wanted to be always on the first quadrant. So there is always a win-win situation for both the parties, both the communities, both the nations. But Arabs and Turks and Persians believed in the second, third, and fourth quadrant. So they wanted to control over others, attack others, and take the 3 points. So that's why I try to tell why war is necessary, why people attack, why people fight. So I dealt with the different invasions in the medieval era. First invasion by the Muslims it was in the 710 CE by the Arabs, Muhammad bin Qasim, who came to defeat the Raja Tahir of Sindh. So that was a whole chapter devoted to this invasion. Why Arab choose to invade Sindh, and what were the conflicts underlying this battle. And then 200 or 300 years, there was a total peace. Though Arabs were ruling the Sindh, but their control over the Sindh was very, very weak. So many of our kings like Chalukyas, Rashtrakutas, Patihas, they were able to knit India in a one kingdom. So for the 200 years, they could not attack us. And even when they tried to attack Gujarat from the Sindh, it was very near. So there were many kings like Pulkeshin and Naiki Devi. They repelled Arabs very strongly. So they could not attack again. But afterwards, we fragmented into different small principalities, and there was no strong king. Then again, Mahmud Ghaznavi tried to attack, and he invaded basically 17 times in 25 years, from 1000 to 1025, and he invaded a different area every time. So in one expedition, when he invaded India, he always wanted to know about the second invasion, when he is going to invade it, what will be the time, what is the area, where is the wealth stored, what is the temple which he can loot, and from where he can get the wealth. And then again, 200 years, there was a relative peace. But there was a king called Suheldev near in present Uttar Pradesh. He repelled the Turk invasion, and then 200 years there was a peace. Then again in Muhammad Ghori started invading India from 1175 to 1192. And in the second battle of Tarayan, when he defeated Prithviraj Chauhan, then everything was lost, and Delhi Sultanate was established. So these 3 or 4 battles I have discussed in detail in the book, and there's a proper analysis why it has happened, where we faltered, where were our strengths, what were their strengths, where we lagged. So you will be surprised to know all these Turks. They came from the Central Asia, present Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, from this part of world. So till 700 CE, they were all Buddhist, and they were doing the trading across the Silk Trade route. They were maintaining the monasteries, and they were earning the living by providing the food, by providing the lodging to the traders, to the Buddhist monks. All these things. They were very peaceful people. And the great grandfather of Mahmud Ghaznavi was a Buddhist monk in monastery. And from the time immemorial, there was they were expert in riding horses. Their horses were world famous, and they were very sturdy. And but they were peaceful at that time, and they were good in trading also. So they were reasonably good, reasonably rich also. But
So,
after the advent of Islam in 7th century, yeah,
generally it is told to Indians that they did not have good horses, but just for information, the Arabic horses have 32 ribs. Anybody can tell you. They are like almost like ponies for us. Indian horses have 34 ribs. There are very two famous Indian horses called Marwadi breed and Kathiawadi
yeah,
breed,
yeah.
and those are considered the king of all the horses. So again, being spread, the horses came from Middle East. But Mahabharata says very clearly that horse breeds were produced in Sindh area. Sindh area was part of India, and
Yeah. Hmm.
so the again there's a myth that Arabic horses are superior, and in the West also it continues. But the biggest and the most strongest horse is the Indian breed, Kathiawadi, and it's beautiful because its ears are joined together. So Rana Pratap used to ride on a Kathiawadi horse.
Yeah. Chetak.
Yeah, Chetak. So if you look at in all the Indian horses, Indian breed, because India has the 61st cavalry, is all horses. It's the only horse cavalry in the world. They all use Kathiawadi horses. On a
Okay.
general height to level, they're
Hmm.
at least 1 feet taller than any Arabic horse, any Western horse, even today. And
Okay.
they're stronger and longer. But on the hills, you don't need a big horse, you need a pony. So the
Yeah.
pony is kachar, we call it in India. That's sent on
Hmm.
the horses. So good point you said, but there's a point to debunk over there with the Turks that they
Yeah.
did not have the best horses. They were if you were to get the best horses, you have to get it from Iran, which is at that time called Persia or Parsik,
Hmm.
and those are all Indian horses. So again, myth that they call the Indian horse, they mix up Indian horse with Arabic breed. Arabic breed is khachar,
Hmm.
a donkey or and horse mixture. So therefore, they have to ride with the two legs on one side, because on a mountain you can't won't be able to control, because if the horse goes crazy, you have to jump off. If
Yeah.
both legs on both sides of the body of the horse, you cannot jump off. It's a good
Okay.
point you brought here. I thought I should add something here.
Yeah. Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Hmm.
continue. Yes.
But after the advent of Islam in 7th, 8th century, when they started spreading the Islam after Persia and West Asia, they came to the Central Asia, and they suddenly started converting to the Islam, and their whole outlook changed, and it became sort of a unifying force. Earlier, there were different tribes who were at each other's throats, but after the becoming Muslim, suddenly they became a unified force, and they became one, and under the banner of Islam, and they wanted to attack different countries, so, so that Islam can be spread. So there were two motives for them. One is to spread the Islam, and second was to loot the wealth from the rich countries. So there were a few inventions which Turks made, like horse saddle, stirrups, and chainmail armor. You can see at the right side there was a horse saddle, leather horse saddle. It was very comfortable. It was of soft leather, and because of that, they could ride thousands of kilometers in a single journey. And then they made a stirrups where they can put the foot on the stirrups, and that will give them a good hold over the horse. So they can fire at least 6 arrows per minute on the galloping horse. So that way they could make a small changes, and which make their journey comfortable. Their hold on the bow and arrow, their hold on the horses. So that way, because of this technology, they could overpower the Hindu soldiers, Indian soldiers. So that was my, I think that was my take. Why we lost in the battle, even though we were numerical superior at least by twice or thrice. So with those inventions, they could travel at least 100 kilometers per day. So from Central Asia to Delhi or to Panipat or to Lahore, they could come within a week or 10 days or 15 days at the most. And they used to subside on the food offered by the villagers en route. They also take the packaged food in the form of dried meat. They used to boil it whenever they stay, and they used to eat it with the salt. And you will be surprised to know they used to take two spare horses with them, and one used to be female horse, so that in case of emergency, when their dried meat is over, or they could not find the subsistence from the land, then they could use the female horse for the milk. And if it is not giving the milk, then they used to kill them and for the food. Another better strategy was that they used reserve soldiers. Their one unit was always a reserve. So till the evening, their main units used to keep fighting. But at the evening, when they used to tired, then they used to deploy these reserve soldiers, so which were fresh, and they used to overpower the enemy. And they also have a strong spy network. They used to know who is the enemy of the present enemy. They used to know the enemy of the enemy, basically. And they used to know which temple, which area is very rich and which is easy to loot, who has a weak defense. All these things they already have. And another thing is they had a full-fledged army, full-time army. In India, we didn't have full-time soldiers. At the peacetime, they were farmers, they were artisans, they were carpenters, they were lahors. So at the peacetime, they used to do the farming, they used to do the carpentry, they used to make the statues. So, but at the time of the battle, whenever the battle was impending, then kings and warriors, they used to call these fellows, and there was no training. They just used to come and fight in the battle. So again, India was the richest country, and whenever we were divided, we were attacked. Like at the time of Ashoka, or at the time of Gupta period, or at the time of Harsha, at the time of Mihir Bhoj, nobody attacked us. But when we were divided in the small kingdoms or small principalities, we were always attacked. So the unity was sometimes missing, though there was no concept of country at that time. But still, whenever these Rashtrakutas or Chalukyas, they knit the Indian landmass in one kingdom, nobody tried to invade us. As you already said, that we were considered soft and we were considered spineless by the Muslims because of our undue emphasis on the Satya, Shanti and Ahimsa. So because of this concept, risk was low for them. And they knew at very little cost, they could come, they could invade us, and they can loot all the wealth from the India. And the next reason was, another reason was we were the kafir. And they wanted to loot us, they wanted to kill us, and they wanted to convert us. And in the Arab invasion, ROI was 2 for the Muhammad bin Qasim. He spent only 6 million dirhams and he returned with 12 million dirhams. So that was a huge profit for them. So the war was basically not only a military strategy, basically it was a business for them. So the book is, I have given the details of all the Hindu kings which have defeated the Arabs and Turks. all over the years from 725 to 1191. My book deals with the early medieval era from 7th or 8th century till 13th century. So my book stops where the when the Delhi Sultanate was established. So in the 724, there was a Kashmir king, Lalitaditya Muktapida. He defeated Al Junaid, who was the successor of Muhammad bin Qasim. So like that, Nagabhat, Javed, Pulkeshin, Bappa Rawal. You will be surprised to know that Rawalpindi is named after the Bappa Rawal. And he defeated Arab army in the Sindh in 738 and recaptured a lot of territory from the Arabs. Then there's a Mehir Bhoj in 839. Then in 1034, there was a Sohail Dev. And 1178, there was a Nike Devi. All these people have defeated the Arab and Turks roundly. Then I have tried to incorporate another thing. Why even after our independence and even after the establishment of Delhi Sultanate, why we could not progress economically at least. So I tried to incorporate this thing, that fractionalization, ethnic fractionalization index, which is how large is the ethnic diversity of any country. So this is a table by a famous sociologist. So you can see in this table, there's a New Guinea, which have a most ethnic diverse country in the world. And then there's at the top Uganda, South Africa, Somalia, India. India is at the very high level with 0.811 ethnic index. And at the bottom, there are all economically well-off countries like United Kingdom, New Zealand, France, China. They all, you can say, they have a fractionalization index bordering at 0.1, 0.2. So they are more or less homogeneous country. So there's no diversity in those countries, and hence there's no conflict in there. While Uganda, South Africa, Kenya, Somalia, India, all are rife with the conflicts. Like India is having a conflict, some or other conflict every time. So this is affecting our economic progress. So many people say why we are not having a China-like economic progress, and they are also proud of unity and diversity concept. So I tell them that both these concepts are mutually exclusive. You cannot have such diversity, and you aim for the China-like economic progress. So both are mutually exclusive, and you cannot achieve both. Then there's another chapter why India is a Hindu country, still a Hindu country. The other ancient civilizations like Egypt, Greek, or Mesopotamia, all these civilizations were absorbed by the either Muslim or by the Christians. Only India is having its ancient traditions, its ancient culture, its ancient religion. Okay, so I have dealt this in details. And this is because of retaliation by the Indian kings. We repelled them many times. And second was that invaders were preoccupied with looting. So much wealth was there. They only wanted, especially Mahmud Ghaznavi, he wanted to loot only the temples. He was not establishing his sultanate or establishing his kingdom in India. He used to raid India, loot it, and go back. And then they used to levy jizya on non-Muslims. So conversion was not the priority, because after conversion they will be bereft of this jizya. So it was not a KPI for them. So that's why whenever new Muslim sultan used to come in Delhi, he used to start converting. But after some point of time, when it gathered critical mass, he used to stop the conversion. And last but not the least, we have a too large population and scattered over two big landmass from northeast, from Assam, Nagaland till Sindh and Khyber Pass, and at the bottom Kanyakumari. So it was too big a mass. So at that time, right now we call it Kashmir to Kanyakumari. At that time, it was a Khyber to Kanyakumari. So there was another, I tried to integrate it with the network theory. So there are two theories, two networks basically in the world. In the real life also, one is random network and another is concentrated network. So you can see the dark black dots are the power centers here. So there are numerous power centers here. So even if you destroy one or two power centers, others will continue to thrive. who are far from them. But the implementation of any new idea, implementation of new technology, or implementation of a innovative idea is very difficult in this kind of random network. So you can see India is a part of this random network. So it is very difficult to destroy, but at the same time, economic progress will also be, it will have a certain cost. So economic progress will be average. It will not be a very progressive. It will not be a 7 to 8% of GDP. So another is a concentrated network. So you can see here there's a one power center, in the center, deep red. So if you are able to destroy the center will be very strong. But if you are able to destroy, whole system will go down. So any propagation of idea, any propagation of technology will happen very fast. So you have to give one sermon like Christians. They had in the medieval era, 15th, 16th century, churches used to propagate certain ideas. So they used to travel very fast. So this is the positive aspect of the concentrated network, but it is very easy to destroy also, until and unless you have a backup on this. So this is a sine diagram, sine curve. So at the sine curve, India is there, and at the triangular lines, there is a single-minded countries, homogeneous countries. So you can see India takes three triangular lines to go to the peak, while they can go to very very quickly. So at the same time, India will be very Indian society, in the Indian culture and tradition will be very difficult to destroy it because of being in the sine curve. Another is the bell curve. So at the left side, there is you can see the degree of stability is very low, and the propensity to innovate is also very low. So this was the condition in pre-Mughal and post-Mughal India. And at the top, at the peak, there was a Vijayanagar Mughal Empire. Even at the time of Jahangir and Akbar, our economic progress was quite good. And in the classical era, at the time of Guptas, at the time of Ashoka, as I discussed earlier, that we were producing 25% of GDP at that time. So we were at the peak of the bell curve. So because of we had a high degree of stability. India was in it in single landmass, and we were doing the innovative things at that time.
So before the Mughals came to India's borders, which as Bharat ka border was considered Afghanistan and
Yeah,
parts of Persia today, parts of Iran today, the economy ever since the Islamic attacks happened in 653, by the time they conquered today's Iraq and Iran, India lost their world trade was 40%. So they lost 15% during the Islamic invasion, and rest they lost almost like 20%, 25% during the British rule. So it's like almost 40 to 45% loss of trade. And
yeah,
one of the misconceptions which I mentioned in one of my books was that one of the misconception was that again that Sone ki chidiya was not because of gold in India.
yeah,
First of all, Sone ki chidiya was given by the Arabs because they wanted to call India as weak, and Sone ka sher nahi bulaya. But the problem was that they and that they India's strength was truth and justice. They had a very good law system, and Arabs have many places I've quoted that they would rather trust a Hindu Brahman for justice than an Arab, because see the money comes in where there is law. Otherwise, the trade doesn't happen. Even today, you can see whichever country has the strongest law infrastructure, the trade, that country is the richest today. And even the Indians would like to go to those countries, and I won't name them. But generally, they expect that when there is a contract, it will be followed through. And if there is any kind of breach of contract, then they can go to the courts and recover the money, or the insurance companies. Otherwise the trade, so India was rich not just because of the gold, because gold is, even today, the quality of gold may be great in India, but the quantity of gold is higher in other countries right now. And like the Uttar Kuru and as well as the South America, they have more gold than India. but the quality of gold was higher. But the India's biggest attraction was law and justice, truth and justice.
Yeah.
And that's why the Arabs wanted to come here, traders wanted to come here. Right from the Mahabharata time, you can see that Ramayana time, the Ayodhya was filled with rich traders, and
Yeah.
Mahabharata also, Hastinapur was filled with rich traders, because traders will not go to places where there is no law and order, and Arab never had law and order. It was like the
Yes.
might, the sword is the might. Anyone who has a sword, you can conquer. And even
Hmm.
today, we can see like just all this info. You have collected a very good information, and I love it what you're showing. But even today, when we see that not a single Islamic country is prosperous, even though they looted a lot from India, but still they're not prosperous. Why? The reason is that because there is no law, and the only country which has the law there is rich, UAE, and which is a very tiny, like a city state as
Yeah.
compared
Yeah.
to India, is like almost like a city state, like seven Emirates. They're the rich because of the law and order, and they don't focus on religion too much, to be frank. So
Yeah.
wherever, even in Islamic country where there is no focus on that culture, that is rich. Saudi Arabia, we all know it's a poor country. And the only 50,000 members of the Saudi family are rich. And whenever
Hmm.
the Chinese bubble breaks out, we'll know only the Chinese community members are rich. And rest of the whole country was hungry and destitute.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
but this data shows exactly the same things which I was referring to.
Yeah.
But the data which like the Islamic rule actually made Afghanistan was a rich country. Kabul had like there are 900 temples in Kabul at that time.
Yes. Yes.
And after the Islamic rule, what is today Kabul is a pile of rocks. A-
Right.
and most of the Iran is a pile of rocks now. Back to basics, you know.
Bilkul, bilkul.
And they Iranians, even in USA, I see them. They call themselves Persia, and I said Persia means you're non-Islamic. You're not
Hmm.
Islamic. Persia
Hmm.
is a non-Islamic heritage, Zoroastrianism or Hinduism. And
Yes.
Anyone who was Zoroastrian, they always had worship of Hindu culture, Hindu deities. Shivji was in worship Nihrat today in Afghanistan.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so it's yeah, I mean, these numbers don't lie actually. Please continue. Please continue. Good,
Yeah. Yeah.
good slides.
So this is the table I tried to tell about our wealth. So you can see up to 1600 and 1500 CE, we were the richest. You can see in the 180 we were producing 33 million, and then 1000 also there was 33 million. So I think there was not much of economic progress, or there maybe data was not correct for the first 80. And then afterwards the 1500 CE also we were the just behind the China and Arabs, and you can see it's far behind us. So, but after our at the time of even Akbar and Jahangir, though our social fabric was down, but we could do the economic progress. We were the economically reasonably prosperous, maybe because of the agriculture, because we had two major rivers of Indus and Ganges. We had a huge basin of that, and we were having a fertile soil. We were able to produce three crops, while the Europeans and other countries they were content with only one crop. And whenever our population increased, we just used to cut the jungles and increase the agricultural area. So that was the main reason behind our economic progress. So, but our economic decline especially started after the coming of British. They actually drained our wealth. They took all the wealth from us by importing their machinery, and they make us the market for the raw material only. So you can say for the England was had a lower GDP till 1870 till 1870. In 1933 1913 only they could surpass us. And even after 1950, whenever after our independence, due to adoption of the socialist policy, our economic progress could not be much. Yeah, after liberalization, we could in 1991 we are progressing at a good GDP growth of 6% and 7%. The situation was that 3 or 4% GDP growth was dubbed as Hindu rate of growth. So this is the thing about the wealth of the nations, and where we prospered, where we faltered. So all these things I have tried to encapsulate in this table. This table was made by the one sociologist, Mr. Richard Eaton. So another chapter, interesting chapter, was how the dead was counted. So everybody had this thing कि 1 लाख लोग मार दिए उन्होंने, 2 लाख मार दिए. So how it used to count? So suppose there were 3 estimates for a battle, 150 hypothetical cases there, 150, 200, and 1000. So the arithmetic mean will be 450, median will be 200, and geometric mean will be 310. So the established formula is to take the geometric mean of all the estimates. So geometric estimates take the basically take the give the weightage to the lower estimates, but while acknowledges that the higher one also exists, it gives a little lower weightage to the higher estimate. So the geometric mean figure was considered as a more accurate one.
So
I will finish my slide.
I have one question for you. So when you mentioned this very interesting thing, you said geometric mean, and coming from an IIT background, I think Roorkee, you have put that very well. Now, very few people acknowledge it. And before that, you said Hindu rate of growth. And again, I have a question over there, because when it was a Hindu rate of growth, the entire region was prosperous. So this again was coined by the leftists, because actually it is the Islamic rate of growth which brought India down, and also the British rate of growth, because even today, British rate of growth has never crossed 5%. Never. There, if you even look at the British history ever since 300 years, it has never crossed 5%. The only time it crossed 15% when India was part of the British rule. Otherwise, it never crossed, and that too they were looting. So even today, Britain, if they were to stop printing their currency the way they do, like paper, Britain will be a very poor country in next 2 years. If you have to just revise the Indian currency rate, I can tell you that all the British will be coming to India for jobs in 2 seconds, in one policy change. So it's again like the same thing. When people tell me in US, they tell me that the Aryan invasion theory. I said, I am the real Aryan. You are my ancestor. You are my progeny, because my ancestors impregnated your women and produced what you call Aryans. Aryan means civilized person. So there's a very popular joke said by Indian politician. The stiff upper lip means that the lies cannot pass through the lips. So, did you finish your slides? Actually, this is beautiful slide.
Yeah.
So very interesting presentation, and I really like the you have done a very mathematical and analysis, and I'm sure I'm going to get your book and see. And so viewers who are watching this show must get those books on Amazon. You saw the book title. And Amitji, it is a pleasure to speak with you. Very great honor, and it's fantastic research you have done. And I added little bit tidbits here, just here and there, just to. I was so excited to just add something. So thank you for your time, Amitji.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you.